Welcome to Zana AI Talk. Have you ever, pictured a battlefield?
Okay.
But something's off. No soldiers. Just machines.
Oh, wow.
Drones in the sky, like a swarm of angry bees.
Yeah.
Robots on the streets.
Yeah.
And get this. Decisions about who lives and who dies aren't made by people, but by computer programs. This isn't some far-off sci-fi movie.
Yay.
This is the future of war. And it's closer than we think.
What's really interesting is how fast all this tech is developing. We're talking autonomous weapons.
Autonomous.
Machines that can pick targets and attack without a human pulling the trigger.
Wait, so no human at all?
Right.
So it's the vehicle or the person being targeted that, triggers the attack.
Exactly.
Not the soldier who turned the weapon on.
You got it.
That's mind-blowing.
It really is. And it's all thanks to huge leaps in artificial intelligence. The kind of tech that makes computers think like us, only way faster.
Okay.
You combine that with super advanced radar, and you've got machines that process info and make decisions crazy fast.
Like faster than any human.
Literally in the blink of an eye.
Wow. Okay. I'm hooked. But how does this work in the real world? Can you give me an example?
Absolutely. Imagine a drone, the drone hunter, developed by a company called Fordham Technologies.
Okay.
It uses radar. Think of it like super-powered sight to spot and track threats, even other drones carrying bombs.
Wow.
There was a test in Utah. This drone hunter locked onto a target drone shaped like a plane
Okay.
and took it out, all by itself.
That's insane. But how does it know what to shoot at? What if it mistakes a bird for an enemy drone?
That's where it gets really interesting. These systems are trained using reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning.
Think of it like teaching a dog a new trick. You reward the dog for doing good and correct it when it messes up.
Okay.
With autonomous weapons, the AI is rewarded for hitting the right targets.
Right.
And penalized for missing or hitting the wrong thing.
So, the AI is playing a video game.
Yeah.
Getting better with each round.
That's a good way to think about it. But instead of virtual points, the stakes are very real.
I can see why this is sparking so many debates. Giving a machine that kind of power, the ability to decide who lives and dies, feels like crossing a line, like opening Pandora's box. What happens if these things malfunction or get hacked?
That's exactly the ethical minefield we're dealing with. Organizations like the International Committee of the Red Cross and Human Rights Watch are seriously worried about the potential consequences.
So what happens if an autonomous weapon misidentifies its target? Attacks a civilian instead of a soldier? Who's accountable when a machine makes a mistake that costs lives?
Those are the questions that nobody wants to think about.
It's scary. It sounds like we're diving into a world where machines are making the big decisions in war.
Yeah.
And that raises a ton of questions about human control responsibility, the whole nature of warfare.
You hit the nail on the head. This isn't just about cool gadgets.
Right.
It's about the future of war and the role we play in it. Are we comfortable giving machines the power to decide who lives and dies?
Right.
Can we make sure these systems are used ethically and responsibly?
Ugh. This is making my head spin. But it's important. And it affects all of us, even if we don't see it. So before we go too deep into the ethics, let's back up. I want to understand better how these machines actually see the world.
That's a good point.
So walk me through it. How do these weapons tell the difference between, say, a tank and a school bus?
Well, remember those super advanced radars?
Yeah.
Those are just one part. These weapons also use something called convolutional neural networks.
Convolutional what?
CNNs for short.
CNNs. Okay, break that down for me.
Yeah.
What in the world are convolutional neural networks?
They basically give these weapons eyes. It's a type of AI that's really good at processing images, like pictures and videos. It lets the weapon analyze the shapes, colors, and patterns and figure out what it's seeing.
So it's like facial recognition.
Yeah.
But instead of tagging friends, it's deciding if that blurry shape is a tank or a school bus.
Exactly. And these CNNs are getting better and better.
So the weapons are getting better at identifying targets. But if we think about the bigger picture, that battlefield full of machines, this ability to see raises even more questions about control and accuracy. What if the system glitches? What if the CNN gets it wrong?
Those are all valid concerns, and they're at the heart of the debate about these weapons.
It sounds like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
We've talked about the tech behind these weapons, the ethical concerns, the potential for things to go wrong.
Right.
But we haven't even touched on how governments are trying to regulate this stuff.
That's a whole other can of worms.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've given our listeners plenty to think about for now.
I think so too.
But don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the ethics of autonomous weapons and explore the efforts to control this technology. See you soon.
See you then. It's easy to get caught up in the technology.
Yeah.
All the cool stuff. But we can't forget that these weapons are made to kill.
It's a scary thought for sure.
It is.
And I think that's where the ethical debate gets really intense. Some people say this technology is inevitable, maybe even beneficial, and others are warning about a robot apocalypse,
right,
where machines are making life or death decisions without us. Where do we even start with all that?
It's a lot. Let's start with the potential benefits, because believe it or not, there are some.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Benefits to killer robots. Explain that to me.
Okay, so some people argue that these systems could actually make war safer, at least for human soldiers.
Nature.
Think about it. If you can send a robot into a dangerous situation
instead of a person.
Right, you're potentially saving lives.
Like sending in a drone instead of a pilot.
Exactly. And some even argue that autonomous weapons could be more precise than humans, leading to fewer civilian casualties, less collateral damage.
So robots could be more accurate and therefore more ethical.
It sounds strange, but the thinking is that machines can follow very specific rules without emotions or split-second judgments that might affect a soldier.
Right.
So in theory, that could mean fewer mistakes.
But even if these systems are more precise, who's responsible when something goes wrong? If an autonomous weapon makes a mistake, who takes the blame? The programmer? The commander?
That's one of the biggest challenges, accountability. It's a question everyone's struggling with. Lawmakers, ethicists, military leaders. And there are no easy answers.
So we're back to control. It seems like we could end up creating these super advanced weapons, but lose control over them.
Yeah.
Or even understand how they're making decisions.
That's the fear. And it's why a lot of people are calling for strict regulations.
Like international regulations.
Yeah, maybe even a total ban.
A ban. Wow, that seems extreme. But I guess if we're talking about machines that can kill on their own, maybe extreme is what we need. What are the chances of that actually happening?
Well, getting every country to agree on something like that is really hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's like herding cats, but the cats have nuclear weapons.
That's terrifying. So what's being done now to try to get a handle on this before it's too late? Are there any rules in place?
There's no global treaty banning autonomous weapons yet.
Okay, but there are definitely discussions happening at the UN and other places.
So at least people are talking.
It's a start. A lot of countries are pushing for a preemptive ban.
Preemptive?
Meaning they want to stop these weapons from being developed in the first place.
Like, let's not even open Pandora's box.
Exactly. They argue it's better to act now before these weapons get too advanced and widespread.
But I'm sure some countries aren't happy about a ban.
You're right.
Especially those who see these weapons as giving them a military advantage.
Of course. There are definitely countries pushing back against a ban.
What's their argument?
They say it's unrealistic and that it would stop innovation. They say that autonomous weapons could have legitimate uses.
Okay.
And that we shouldn't overreact.
So they're saying robots could be helpful in some situations.
Right.
Yeah.
They also point out that enforcing a ban would be really difficult.
How so?
Like, how do you tell the difference between an autonomous weapon and one controlled by a human?
Right.
How do you stop countries from developing them secretly? It sounds messy.
It is. And it shows us a problem we see all the time. Technology often moves faster than we can understand and regulate it.
We're always trying to catch up.
Yeah, trying to make rules for a game that's already changed.
And with something like autonomous weapons, the stakes are incredibly high.
They are.
So where does that leave us? What can we do to make sure this technology is used responsibly? Or at least that the conversation about it keeps going?
Well, first, we need to stay informed. The more we know, the better we can advocate for responsible policies.
Feels like we're living in a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
Self-driving cars, phones that know our faces, and now robots making life or death decisions on the battlefield.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's not just about the technology, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about the ethical questions, the legal stuff, the things that could go wrong.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's about what all this means for us, for the future, for how humans and machines will interact. These are big questions, and we're just getting started.
So what do we do? We've talked about discussions, bans, regulations, but what about us regular people? Can we even make a difference?
Absolutely. The most important thing is to stay informed. The more we understand, the better we can advocate for good policies.
So educate ourselves. We can't just ignore this.
Right. We need to be involved, not just watching from the sidelines. And that starts with understanding what's going on.
Knowledge is power.
In a lot of ways, yes. But it's not just about reading articles or watching documentaries.
What else?
It's about talking to people, having conversations, sharing what we know, and listening to different opinions.
Bringing this issue out in the open.
Exactly. The more we talk, the more likely we are to find solutions that protect us all.
This is a global issue.
It is.
So we need global conversation.
Absolutely. It's not just up to governments. We all have a role to play in shaping the future of war. A future where technology helps us, not the other way around.
That's a good point. It reminds me that we're not powerless. We have a voice, and we can use it.
Exactly. We can choose to be informed, to speak up, to demand that our leaders put ethics and human control first. We can push for transparency and make sure the future reflects our values.
This has been an amazing deep dive into autonomous weapons.
I agree.
We've covered so much. The tech, the ethics, the global efforts to regulate it all. But most importantly, we've started a conversation. And that needs to continue.
Absolutely. And we want you to be a part of it.
So join the Zana AI Talk community. Subscribe to our channel, like this episode, and leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about the future of war. What role should humans play in a world where robots might be making life or death decisions? Let's keep talking about this.
Thanks for listening.